Story behind the story. You are in luck. Jody Kerzman is here with the latest batch of good news leftovers. And in our first segment this morning, we are going behind the scenes in Medora. And it's interesting to me when we learn about all the volunteerism that goes on in that town to make everything work.
I think people don't realize how many volunteers really help out the foundation and keep things running smoothly. And what a great way to spend a week in the summer, right?
Are you kidding? No kidding.
There are people that have been going to Medora to volunteer for years and years and years, and I just think it's so cool, and it becomes a part of who they are.
Exactly, and one of those couples are Laurel and Bill from Hazen that have been doing it for a long, long time, and she got him into it a long time ago.
Yeah, so it's interesting, you know, as we just talked about 60 years of the musical, Laurel's Medora memories go back before that, when it was Old Four Eyes, right? And the wood, the wood plank seating. She remembers going, I think it was for a 4-H camp or a church camp or something, and they got to see this outdoor musical, and she just thought it was the most amazing thing.
Didn't she say she was like 12 years old when she first went?
Yeah.
In 1960, I think it was.
60 or 62, it was. Yeah, and then he joined the military, and they were not able to go for a few years, but whenever they had people from out of state come to visit their military friends, this is where they would take them. Like, here's something, North Dakota, we want you to experience.
So when people volunteer in Medora, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, they go for a week at a time. They volunteer, they're there for a solid week, and then their time is up. So it's not an entire summer commitment.
No, and I think people like Bill and Laura would do more.
Yeah.
But there's so many people who want to volunteer that you really can't.
Yeah. Well, that is pretty cool, but those are North Dakota natives. We have another story of some people that grew up halfway across the world, lived in the same town, both came to Medora not knowing each other, and bingo, wedding bells are ringing.
So I think this is so cool, but you know, Wayne, you and I grew up in small towns. It's hard to fathom living in the same city as someone and not knowing each other. Where they grew up, I don't remember the name of the town in Bulgaria, but it's probably got more people than the whole state of North Dakota. But they think maybe they had crossed paths now that they look back. But yeah, they both came to Medora separately, met each other, fell in love with each other and with Medora, and they are married, and they have been coming back to Medora for years.
Couple of things about that story that I thought were kind of cute. First of all, he knew right away. He said he went to lunch with his boss. He looks across the room, and there's Nellie sitting there, and he's like, that's her. I'm going to marry her. He knew right away. She was not quite so sure off the bat. It took
her a while. I think she's happy that she gave him a chance, because they are pretty darn cute. But you hear that a lot, right? Like, where one person is just convinced early on. Smitten is a great word. And it takes the other one. I mean, you want to be careful too. And you're on the other side of the world. And,
it's true.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for the day they decide to stay in Medora through a winter, because they do go to Florida and work there. I think it's something with their visas that they need to not be in one place all the time, but I think they need to make a winter in Medora happen.
I was just going to say, Nellie and Ivan, is it Ivan or Yvonne? Ivan. Nellie and Ivan, don't be chicken. Stay in Medora for a winter. Maybe they'll have a winter like we had last year, where it wasn't real severe. You know?
To us.
To us.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it felt like a Kansas winter would feel, or an Oklahoma, you know, 40s a lot of times and stuff like that. So, all right, now I don't know where he went to lunch with his boss, but my guess is they probably went to the Cowboy Cafe, and that's where he saw Nellie. I don't know that for sure.
It is an institution in the town of Medora, isn't it? I mean, when you say, I'm going to meet you for lunch, or breakfast, you're probably going to go to the Cowboy Cafe. And I didn't put this in here, but we were talking before this started, probably the most famous item on the menu at the Cowboy Cafe is the caramel roll, wouldn't you say?
I would think so.
And I had video of it, and I thought, if I put that in there, everyone's going to be so distracted by this delicious caramel roll, they're going to miss the whole point.
They're not going to hear what I'm trying to tell them.
I should have brought some home.
Now, those waffles are a big deal there, too.
Yes, I've had them. They're delicious.
Yeah.
But this maybe is your retirement job, because Beth and her husband Kevin have been running it for more than 40 years, and they are ready to retire.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, they're going to wait for the right buyer, right? Because they want it to stay open and stay true to their roots. And I said, well, what will you do when you do retire, will you go south or something?
Yeah.
And Beth said, yeah, we'll go south. About a block and a half to our house.
Exactly. Well, I remember in your story them saying, no, we're going to stay in Medora, and this is home.
Their
And
grandkids are not too
Yes.
far away. They're in the Dakotas, and Beth has lived in Billings County her whole life. She grew up there, and her dad was the one who said, you should buy that cafe. And she
Yeah.
said, I don't know how to run a cafe. And he said, well, you'll figure it out.
Exactly.
She definitely figured it out.
One of the things from your story about the Cowboy Cafe that really stuck out to me was she said, we do not bring a meal out of the kitchen that we wouldn't want to feed our grandparents or our parents or our children.
Isn't that so great? That's why it's so good, because the standard is so high.
Yeah.
And what I love is cash or check.
Yeah.
Right?
No
and you
credit
would think
cards.
in this day and age, nobody's going to do that. But everybody always pays. And she said, I figure if people have money to go on vacation, they have money.
And there's a cash
they're not
machine
just
right there.
right across the street. So
you spend a lot of time in Medora this summer.
I have been lucky enough to go twice this year.
You know, and I've been living here now, it'll be 31 years later this month. I am learning each and every year how important Medora is, not only to tourism, but to the people that live in this state. There are so many great stories that come out of there.
Well, and I keep thinking we're going to run out of stories, right? But every time I shoot a text to my girl Victoria, she comes up with 5 or 6 different stories, and it's just a very important
you think
community.
of it just as being the Burning Hills Theater or
So
singers,
much more to it.
it is way deeper than that. All right, break time, you know how this works.